What does it look like to think about this idea that every time we open our doors to our customers, every time we pick up a phone to a customer, every time the phone rings from a customer, every single time a customer interacts with us, we think to ourselves, it's showtime. The value of humility. Number one, we have to know that we are not the center of the universe. We have to have the humility, number one, to tell people that we're not perfect, which I know some people go, what do you mean I can't tell my staff I'm not perfect?
All right, folks, welcome back to the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. This is David Fung. I'm back after a brief hiatus, enjoying the summer weather, working on my tan, drinking beer by the lake, doing all that fun stuff. And today I'm here with Marc Haine. Marc Haine is a globally recognized customer and employee experience expert, keynote speaker, and you're the author of Lights, Camera, Action. Yes, there you go. For those of you on video, he has his book in front of him. You have over 35 years of experience in hospitality, retail, and leadership across several industries. So Marc, you're the founder of Marc Haine Live and Experience Leadership, the Small Business Podcast,
Yep.
And you're known for blending humor. You said you have an acting background as well. I want to talk more about that. Operational excellence and theatrical flair to help teams deliver jaw-dropping experiences. Marc Haine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a great introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. So hopefully I did you justice with some of that introduction. You have a very professional setup there for the folks on Spotify who are watching the video. You have a cool studio, but we also talked in the green room how, you have a basement hallway right behind that studio as well. Literally behind the curtains, right?
No, it's actually the walkway right behind me, between me and my TV set is the walkway.
Well, you just peer around and you watch TV right after this. So Marc, you have a very interesting background. You've done a variety of stuff in your life. Where do you want to start about who is Marc Haine and what does Marc Haine do?
Okay, so why don't we start way back? I'm a hospitality guy. Essentially, my background, I actually went to school to study police technology. And the year that I actually went and applied to become a police officer, there were like 50,000 applications for 5,000 jobs nationwide.
Wow.
And so at the time I was working in a restaurant through my college years, and I stayed in the restaurant. And from there, I built my own restaurants. And then I came out to Alberta. So I moved from Montreal to Alberta back in 1999. And it was the very first time that I actually got hired by a corporation. And it was the very first time I went from kind of being this entrepreneur into kind of being a department manager, where all of a sudden I had access to a marketing manager, a human resource manager, a finance manager. And I was blown away by the capacity and the competency of the people around me. And I thought to myself, man, if I only had this as an entrepreneur. And so I learned as much as I possibly could from all these people with these superpowers to be able to kind of round out my knowledge and kind of fill in the gaps and realize, as an entrepreneur running my businesses for 12 years, I didn't have half the knowledge that I needed in order to be successful. Had I had that, I think I would have been more successful. But having said that, that also set the seed for this idea of being a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you talk a lot about customer experience, customer service, employee experience, but also I think I read somewhere business as theater.
Yeah. So
what is that?
So very interestingly enough, I was hired by a community to do a service excellence program. It was a community that just brought, it's a very small community, and they were getting slammed on social media. People would come, would kind of post on social media. I had a really great day at the campgrounds. The fire pits are amazing. It's a great park system. Oh, it's so good. It's too bad when I went into the town and I went to XYZ store, they treated me like this. Challenging. And it was first time that I realized all the things that I felt in hospitality in all my years of hospitality. I realized that other businesses were feeling exact same angst as I was. I used to joke with people that hospitality would be a cinch if we didn't have people. Just get rid of that variable. But then I found out that as I got hired by the community, I found out that as I was able to peek into different industries, everybody was suffering with the same issue. And then something really interesting, the year that I went and started working in a municipality, one of my coworkers came in, she goes, "Marc, you act, don't you?" I said, "Well, I act goofy, silly, but most times just immature. She goes, no, 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 like I mean on a stage. And I went right away, went into defense mode. It's like on a stage. I can't remember what I had for breakfast. How am I going to remember lines? Anyway, we had a discussion. She encouraged me to go to the audition. I went to the audition. I got a part, and it was the first time I ever started acting.
Where'd you get a part for?
So it was a play called A Night in Provence.
Okay.
So originally I was hired to play the Irish guy. But then about 3 weeks into rehearsal, the person who was playing the French guy wasn't there. And I said, I'll read his part since we're not on stage together. I'll do his reading. And the minute they heard that I had this French accent, I could do the Fringlish. And I could do the Fringlish pretty good because I grew up in Quebec. Eh? And so they said, you have to take over. You got to be the French guy. And so I
Obviously,
played.
they were looking for a Quebecois accent, right?
Well, no, that's the funny part of it was I did the show, and one of my colleagues' bosses were in the audience from Paris, and he came up to me and goes, "You are very good, but your accent is too much like a Quebecois." And so I put on the accent right back at him. I said, "Oh, you know what? You're right. It's terrible. It's Quebec. Yeah, but here's the thing." I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to take the part, do I want to be the Parisian French or the Quebec French? And I just thought to myself, you know what? I'll go with the Quebecois because I don't want to lower my standards.
Yep. There you go. There you go. There's the Quebecois coming out right there.
Interestingly,
Yep.
that experience kind of seeded my whole idea from my book and kind of my differentiation. And that is, I came to this realization that if I looked at everything that we did, I sat on a stage after the opening night and I sat and looked at everything we did. We coordinated the volunteers, we had to coordinate the bar, we had to set up the tables, we had to build up the stage, build out the stage, we had to go through 4 months of rehearsals, we had to do it all to put on 6 shows. And I remember thinking as I looked at everything we were doing, this idea of we put together this amazing production. And I thought to myself, if businesses put that much time, attention, and focus into their businesses we did to put on 6 shows, we would have amazing businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing businesses. And so that kind of started my journey back in 2016. It started my journey of, what does it look like? What does it look like to think about this idea that every time we open our doors to our customers, every time we pick up a phone to a customer, every time the phone rings from a customer, every single time a customer interacts with us, we think to ourselves, it's showtime. How would it change what we do and how we do it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's showtime. And so when you say it's showtime, what is that mental switch that a person needs to have when they say showtime?
Number one, it's not about me. When we're up on stage, when we're doing, it doesn't matter what happens backstage. You could be in a conflict with somebody backstage. You could have had the worst day ever, but the minute you step onto that stage, our only purpose is to create an experience for our audience.
Mm.
And that's the same thing no matter what we do. Like I remember working I used to run food and beverage operations in casinos. And I remember a server coming to me and I could hear the transaction. She said the right words, but the attitude wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so I pulled her aside and said, what's going on? And she goes, well, the customer's just really pissing me off. And I said, you know what? I heard the words, but your attitude is all wrong. And she goes, well, I'm having a bad day. You don't want me to fake it, do you? And I
Actually,
said,
I do.
Actually, absolutely do.
Yeah.
And at that point, I let her go.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that this is about providing the service to our customer, putting on the show for the customer, then you're not part of this.
Well, it's a service industry at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like leadership is a service industry as well, but hospitality, even more so, is a service industry. It is not about you. It is about the customer. That's why you're in the service industry, you work in a hotel, you don't take the holidays off. You don't take 4th of July off. You don't take Canada Day off. You take a Monday, during the week on a regular week off, right? Holidays is when you are servicing all your customers and you got to be there for them.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And you just nailed it on the head. You said you have to be there for them.
Yeah.
Right. And so no matter what else is going on, this is the good hotels will train their staff. if you're in a certain distance from somebody, you have to make eye contact. If you're even closer, you have to make eye contact and you have to say good morning, regardless of what your job is. You could be the porter taking out garbage. You could be a housekeeper. It doesn't matter. You make eye contact with somebody and they're close enough. You say good morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the best hotels, and it doesn't have to be 5-star or even 4-star. Like the best ones have trained their staff well, and everyone says good morning. Everyone says hello or good evening, sir.
Becomes a cultural thing. Take this now into the leadership side. I've worked with bosses who their only thought process when they walk in, they come in, they go up the escalator, they go to the office, they close the door, they haven't said boo to anybody.
Yep.
How do you want your staff now to go and treat your customers if that's the way you're going to treat your employees?
It's exactly that.
And so the rules have to be the same thing for leadership. It has to be we make eye contact with people, we stop, we pause, we give them the time of day by saying, "Hey, David, good morning. How are you today?"
Yeah. What's interesting, Mark. This is hitting home because just recently I was on a call, a big call with a lot of people on it, and publicly I thanked a certain individual, and that individual came to me later and said, "Oh my God, thank you, David, for recognizing me." And for me, it was a small gesture. It was, "Hey, thank you, Mark, for being that glue, being that person, helping me with this initiative. And, I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Now let's talk about it." Just that little gesture meant so much. But what I realized after that, why they were so thankful was because in their world, in their realm of the business, they never got thank yous. Even within the same company, they never got a thank you. It was always more, more, more. What have you done for me today? And you could have like launched a rocket to the moon today, tomorrow. You've done nothing for me, Mark. And that's not the culture you want. A simple thank you means a lot.
And it has to be a sincere thing as well. Like I remember when I
Yeah.
first started, I would get to, I became a fixer in the hospitality. That meant that, I did what you see like on like Restaurant Impossible or Kitchen
Mm-hmm.
Nightmares. That was actually my life. I would go into troubled properties and have to solve they've been in business for 20 years and now they're not making money, and
Mm.
Mark, we need your help. And that's what I would do. And one of the very first things that I recognized very early on, that all these problems of not making money, not keeping staff, not having engaged staff, it started first and foremost at the top. It started because the owners were burnt out. The owners weren't trained themselves. They themselves could have been an incidental leader,
Mm-hmm.
just like I was when I had my 3 restaurants. I never got trained on HR policies and procedures. I never got trained on finance principles. I never got trained on marketing. But then I just ran my businesses just doing the best I could. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have all these entrepreneurs out there doing exactly the same thing without having the specialty. I mean, how does somebody open up a welding shop because he loves welding? How is he going to learn to be an effective leader? How's he going to learn to be a good marketer? How's he going to learn to be a good HR manager?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's not until he hires people into those roles that is going to suffer. That's going to be crippling. And I would challenge that a lot of departments are so siloed, even though they have HR or even that they have marketing and so on. It's like, this is my department. Nobody's going to tell me how to do my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you'd be caught at a Coldplay concert with your
Yeah,
HR
maybe.
head.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
that's
Who
also a good
knows?
one. In a recent podcast, I think you mentioned something about going from a fixing culture to an innovation culture. Did I get you right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Going from fixing, because you mentioned that, to innovating.
So a lot of times we're told to do certain things. Now, one of the biggest challenges I think we have these days in leadership is we give our leaders way too much work to do, by the way. I think we give them too many reports to fill out. I think what we need to do is we need to refocus what a leader is supposed to do, what a manager is supposed to do, by teaching them to become coaches, number one.
Mm-hmm.
The minute we do that, we change the game.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of being a fixing culture, right now, we're kind of like our healthcare system, right? We kind of go with the systems that we've put into place. Everything's comfortable. We know what's going on. But then we look back year over year going, I don't know why we're not evolving. I don't know why nothing's changing. One of the challenges that we have in our cultures is that, and I don't know when it happened, why is there an expectation, David, if I'm going to hire you to do a job, I'm going to, I'm thinking I'm hiring the best person for this job. He's going to be perfect. He's not going to make any mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And yet how much would you know about stepping into a brand new business? Right. And so there's this idea of what does it take to fail forward?
Hmm.
How do we support it as leaders, as managers? How do we take that mindset of failing forward? Because the minute we start to do that, we go from this fixing mindset to now innovation, because now we're encouraging people. I want you to make mistakes. I want you to try something and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, let's go back to it and figure out what is the objective and how can we make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's reflection too. Like one of the things I did early on when I became a leader in my current business was, um, mistake would be made, right? And it wasn't, it wasn't harming the business irreversibly or anything, but it was
So it
big
wasn't at a
enough.
Coldplay concert, the
No, it
mistake.
wasn't that. You know what? No, it wasn't that. Coldplay. Too many memes out there, Mark. There's too many.
Right, right.
Actually, I talked to a friend. I was like, you know what? Just for fun, me and you are just gonna hold each other at a concert and just duck right after, right?
Yeah.
Our wives would love that.
Everybody's been doing it.
Boys will be boys, anyways. I don't know if I need to cut that out. I probably won't. I don't remember what I was going to say, Mark, but I think just talking about mistakes. Like it's so easy to just say, oh yeah, you got to innovate, be innovative. Yet the tolerance of mistakes is zero. I have
Yes.
seen the spew out of people's mouths. You must innovate. You must do this and that. Yet the culture is if you make a mistake, God, there's hell to pay.
Yeah.
What culture are you creating when there's hell to pay, when there's people make mistakes? There's no innovation, right? People will do things very safely with a lot of guardrails. And so, you got to understand that culture, but also like the buck stops with me. And what I try to do my best is, okay, we made a mistake. Let's reflect on it, Mark, right? What do you think happened here? It's like, okay, what would you do differently next time? Okay, can we have a laugh about this? All right, because it's funny
Can
now,
we
right?
coach them past the failure?
Yeah. You're like, yeah, exactly. Past the failure as in like, oh, I feel so bad. It's like, okay, it's okay. Right. I accept it. You accept it. Now, what are we going to do about it together? Right. And you got to be in the muck with them saying, we'll do this together. You're responsible. You're accountable, but we're doing this together. Like, I will support you. When I say support you, I will do something with you alongside you to fix the problem. So it's different when you approach it that way.
I used to love the Google 20% time. I don't know
Yeah,
if
they
they
got
still
rid of
do it.
that. No, they got rid of that years ago.
When you think about that time in the Google evolution,
Yeah.
how innovative they were as a company when they did that, they had a lot of burnt time, no doubt about it. They had a lot of projects that the staff tried to do that ended up on the cutting room floor and never went anywhere. But when you think about the innovation that happened when they did it, it's mind blowing.
Hmm.
It's absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, what's happened in the last few years with the economy too has really shown the true colors of a lot of companies.
Mhm.
They're there to just make money. A lot of them,
Yep.
like no
Yep.
matter what the top says. And so a lot of these, 20% time, 10% time, it it's out the door. It's
Yeah.
out the
Does
door.
does your audience know what we mean by 20% time?
Yeah, maybe not, but for those who are not in tech or are not familiar with Google's 20% time, basically in a week, out of a 5-day work week, the Fridays, right, which is 20% of the week, individuals were allowed to take that whole Friday to work on a personal project that would be impacting the business somehow.
Yeah. Support
But that,
Google.
yeah, and at Google, that is how Google Photos was invented. That is how Google Maps was invented. And I'm sure there's other Google tools
Yeah.
that we all
So
take
many.
for granted today, how
Yep.
they were
Google
invented.
Ads, Google Ads, Google Mail.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And this is the amazing thing is that all it takes is one project. All it takes is one. And you basically increase your R&D department by X, like by, probably like, 2-3 fold by doing that, by allowing these folks that time to do that. And all it takes is one product and that can make your day, right? That can make your company's day right there.
It's interesting when I speak at leadership conferences. One of the questions I always ask is raise your hand if you have people in positions that are more capable and have bigger capacity than their job description allows. And almost every single hand goes up. So right away, people are recognizing my people have more capacity. Why are we limiting people into a job description? Right now, we have essential jobs that need to be done. We hired somebody to be a receptionist, you're going to be a receptionist. But if we allowed them to, if we knew them well enough and knew that their superpower was in graphic arts, maybe they have a creative streak in them. Is there something that we could help them evolve to benefit our company, but would benefit them and help them grow out of their job description into a passion project that would keep them engaged and keep them longer within the
Mm-hmm.
organization?
Yeah. Yeah. Someone I know, standard job is doing what they do, but one of their passions is making videos, like well produced professional videos. And what we realized, that person's superpower is that they started leveraging all the AI tools out there as well, right?
Mhm,
That we have right now. And my God, some of the videos they produce, like 5-minute snippets, we start leveraging this person to build these videos for customers to show them something.
mhm.
Game changers,
Yeah.
absolute game changers, right? Like this, a 5-minute video that looks like it's professional, looks like we took all month to do it. No, it was over a weekend,
Mhm.
right? Because this
Yeah.
person is obsessed with making beautiful videos with AI. And they did that for our company product. Excellent stuff. So, exactly, like you just bring that story up.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I've even walked into businesses. I did a SWOT analysis for a hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner was telling me how lazy everybody was. Nobody wants to take initiative. Everybody's so lazy. I mean, look at this guy, right? He's unless I tell him to do something, he's not going to do anything. He's so lazy. He can't concentrate on anything for very long. And when I did the SWOT analysis, I started interviewing people, and this one particular person was of interest because I sat down with him over a cup of coffee, and I said, so when you're not here, what do you do? He goes, "Oh, I'm a musician." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. You're a musician. You plays guitar." I said, "How long have you been playing guitar for?" He says, "I've been playing guitar for 15 years." He's 22.
Mm. Wow.
And I said, "So what kind of?" And he talks, and he's a classical guitarist, and I said, "So I mean, you must know. Do you still practice?" He goes, "Oh, I practice every single day." I said, "How long do you practice every single day?" He goes, 3 to 4 hours a day.
Yeah. Wow.
This is
Yeah.
after the boss pointed him out specifically and said he can't concentrate on anything. He's too lazy. Lacks focus. Would it be fair to say that maybe he's in the wrong position? Maybe we need to be looking at a different position where he can leverage his superpowers
Yeah.
in a way that would benefit himself, but the company as well.
But Mark, like, how often do you see in some of your travels there bosses who don't get to know their employees?
All the time. This is why TV shows like Undercover Boss is so compelling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're always like, and what is the one thing they say? They get in, they go, "I never realized." And it's like this idea of having to walk the floor or walk in the shoes of your employees. Once you do that as a boss, once you start working with people and not above people, you open up these awarenesses. You see the challenges and the static that people are bumping their heads into. That same SWOT analysis, when the owners came back from Arizona, they said, "Oh, and we understand you're doing some sort of analysis." And I said, so I told them what it was all about. And they said, "What's a dishwasher going to tell me about my business?" And I said, "You don't think that a dishwasher understands kind of where his choke points are in his workflow? You don't think that he understands what chemicals are not as good as other chemicals? And the only thing a dishwasher can tell me is when his smoke break and when he gets paid."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and that is the reason why your business is failing, because you're limiting yourself. You're mentally pigeonholing your employees into positions when they know their business inside out.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very interesting.
Mhm.
And that could be a topic of this podcast, right? Terrible bosses. Something like
Terrible bosses. Well, and like nobody goes to work saying I'm going to be a terrible boss.
yeah.
So the big component is to try to figure out, why are the bosses challenged? And
Yes.
part of it is, and I think you see this in Silicon Valley a lot with startups, is like you get three guys together who start up a company, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Great, Steve, you're doing really good. You're doing marketing, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. To help alleviate, we're gonna bring in a marketer." And then we're going to bring in another person to do this. And all of a sudden you start pulling responsibilities away from some of the key stakeholders.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden their knickers get in a twist because it's like, but that was my baby. And whoever you bring in, they're going to be looking at it and going, that's not the way I would do it. And the minute we have those kinds of mindsets, we start limiting and we start pushing back. And so now the person that you just brought in to do your marketing is not going to take chances because he doesn't want to ruffle feathers.
Yeah. 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 Their ego plays a big part of the human psyche. And it's interesting when you're able to drop your ego in many realms. Like, you should have a healthy ego, obviously. Right. An example is like just this one project, like I've been running it since the beginning of the year. Right. It's a separate project. And I was talking to this individual today, in fact, who said, "Hey Dave, like, I'm trying to get my voice out there. Like, I really love thought leadership. I really love getting my opinion out there. Like, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. What's the medium?" And it just clicked to me. I have a medium already. I have another medium, and I have a voice there. I have an audience, and I just offer it up. I go, "How about you be a guest on, be my guest host on this, on this other channel I run, and you bring in the guest, you host it, and you already have the viewership. How about that?" And he was so thankful. And for me, it was like, "Oh, how do I not know about this? Like, how did I not think about this before?" But it was just the right problem at the right moment. And he
Mhm.
was so thankful. And it made me feel
Yes.
good, obviously, because I helped elevate him. But it was I don't care. Like, sure, like, I'll see the chair, for one or two episodes. Go for it. Right. And here you go. So I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not an angel at all, Mark. Right. I have my,
None of us are.
yeah, I have my ego points too. And people will tell you that. But so let me ask you then, like, just, you have a lot of knowledge of businesses. You've done a lot of SWOT analysis of businesses. You've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the great. What are you offering, and how are you helping people in businesses?
So as a customer and employee experience strategist, I'm basically a leadership development specialist. We look at like I mentioned, every time I walked into a challenged property, I could tell very quickly, I could tell that the problem is with the leaders. The problem is I can't go up to a leader and say, "Oh, Steve, I was just watching how you were interacting with the staff. I just wondered if you know how bad you are as a leader. Would you like some help?" It just wouldn't fly, right? So part of what we do is we're educators.
Mm,
As a keynote speaker, as a trainer, my role is to be able to get up in front of a group of stakeholders, talk about a big, expensive problem that we all suffering. Now, interestingly enough, when we have a problem at work, a lot of times what we're doing is blaming the symptoms. So a perfect example is my staff doesn't stick around. They don't seem engaged. My turnover is horrendous. And I have a really hard time attracting new talent. Right now, those all seem like problems. They are all problems. The challenge is that that's not what the issue is. The issue goes far below that. So the big question is, if you lose employees, why are you losing them? Well, this new generation's really lazy. Nice
mhm.
generalization. Is that the problem? No, it's not. The problem is that you have a new generation coming in and you don't know how to engage them. You don't know how to speak to them. You don't know what their needs are. You don't know what their aspirations are. You don't know how to lead the new generation. And when we have workplaces now that have 5 generations in the workplace today, for the very first time in human history, we have 5 generations in the workplace. It means that as leaders, we need to be almost chameleon like. We need to be able to adjust how we interact with people based on their personality types, based on their value systems, and be able to communicate effectively in a way that moves our businesses forward. The minute we become, "I'm the boss and you're not" mentality, I hate to say it, but that is the perfect recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Wonderful, Mark. So, last couple questions to you. First of all, what piece of advice, if there was only one piece of advice you can give to all the listeners out there about being a great leader, what would it be?
The value of humility. Number one, we have to know that we are not the center of the universe. We have to have the humility, number one, to tell people that we're not perfect. which I know some people go, what do you mean I can't tell my staff I'm not perfect? But it goes along to what we were talking about with ego. Humility is the means by which we say we don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we go face to face, even with what we started this, as we started talking today, we talked about leaders talking to employees, having the humility to say, there is Bob, and I haven't talked to Bob in a few months, and I don't know what's going on with Bob. It
Mm-hmm.
takes humility to have yourself stop. That humility will force intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
And so my big thing to people is to check your ego at the door. It is time to start leveraging that virtue of humility. And if you're not sure what that means, Google it, look it up, use ChatGPT and say, how can I reflect more humility in my interactions?
Yeah.
And let's become that lifelong learner to make that happen.
Wonderful. So I always end the podcast in the same way. I ask the very same question, and I make everyone squirm in the exact same way when I ask this question. My last question to you, Marc, is what is one question I haven't asked, but I should have asked you?
The one question you haven't asked me, but you should have asked me is, that's a really good question. I can see why you say you make people squirm with that. I would say the one question is, David, what's your superpower?
Okay. Well, Marc, what's your superpower?
My it's all based on my core virtues: humility, staying uncomfortable, and being of service.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Marc.
You didn't tell me your power.
My power?
But your superpower.
Okay. Well, I had a few more seconds to think. I think it's understanding what people need, right? The empathy. It's collaboration. One of the things true to my values is collaborating with others and working together to solve a problem. Family, and I can extend that beyond just the nuclear family, your immediate family. It is very important that we get to know each other and build relationships with each other so that we can succeed together. Yeah. I mean, those are some of the powers I think I believe I have. Yeah. And I can lift pretty heavy weights too when I need to.
There you go. Here's your cape.
Yep. That's my cape. And there's your cape. All right, Marc. Well, it's been 30 minutes. Flew by as usual in these podcasts. If people need to look for you, what is the best way to find what Marc Haine is up to?
Just Google me. You'll find me on all the platforms. It's Marc with a C, Haine. You can find me at marc@marchaine.com. You can follow my podcast, Marc Haine Live, and Experience Leadership, the Small Business.
Right, sir. Well, wonderful speaking with you today. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And have a good day.
Thanks so much.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. I'm David Fung, and my mission is to help leaders grow, lead with impact, and build thriving teams. If you found this valuable, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow leader. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.